The immediate aftermath of Audrey Thorne's arrest was a quiet, cold victory for Caleb Shaw. The syndicate, headless and reeling from the double blow of Elias's surrender and Audrey's indictment, froze its hostile takeovers. The injunction on West Ridge was delayed, and the pressure on Dry Creek, for the moment, subsided. The meticulously constructed legal shield that Elias had erected, and that Audrey had so fiercely maintained, was finally shattered. But the silence that descended upon Ironwood was utterly deceptive. The brief, tactical peace did nothing to help Lila. Back at Red Fork Canyon, the atmosphere was one of stifled crisis. The small medical team, led by the aging but dedicated medic, Doc, informed Caleb that Lila's condition was deteriorating rapidly. Her core temperature was erratic, and the early signs of infection were creeping in, complicated by the spinal trauma and organ damage sustained in the fall. "Caleb, listen to me," Doc said, his face grave as he peeled off his surgical gloves. "We've done all we can with what we have. This bunker is keeping her alive, but it can't heal her. She needs sustained, high-level neurotrauma care. She needs a major metropolitan hospital, a sterile ICU, and specialists who understand the complexity of this level of injury. Every hour she stays here is a roll of the dice. Moving her is a massive risk, but staying put is a death sentence, plain and simple." Caleb stood over the ventilator, watching his sister's chest rise and fall, the only thing keeping his fractured world together. He ran a hand through his perpetually dusty hair. The thought of moving her filled him with paralyzing dread. The thought of losing her was worse. "I need to move her to the city," Caleb told Silas, his voice heavy with dread as they paced the cramped control room at Dry Creek. "But the minute she shows up on a city hospital roster, Riley will seize her as a material witness, placing her under federal lock and key. And Audrey's lawyers, even from jail, will use that subpoena power to access her records again, using her trauma to smear Victor in court." Silas, watching a flickering, cracked screen showing looping weather reports, nodded grimly. "That means you need a deal, Caleb. A solid, ironclad guarantee of immunity and medical privacy. And the only man who can offer that is Riley. He's got everything now, Elias and Audrey in cuffs. He holds the entire deck, and he's the only one who can facilitate a safe transfer." Simultaneously, the news reached Victor Shaw in his hidden bunker. The sight of Audrey Thorne in handcuffs on a grainy, looping news feed filled him, not with the satisfaction of vengeance, but with a white-hot, consuming rage. His target was in protective custody, untouchable, shielded by the federal government he so despised. Riley had stolen his victory and caged his prey. Victor's hand trembled as he clutched the satellite phone. The old gold-leafed ledger, his family's history and security, lay on the table Seraphine's payment. He knew the cost of delay, but his thirst for public, undeniable revenge was paramount. "Seraphina," he hissed, his voice raw, "my payment for the ledger is delayed until the next phase is complete. I need to draw her out. I need to make Riley choose between the preservation of order and the protection of the Thorne family. I need something that can't be ignored, something that shows them the price of caging Victor Shaw." Audrey Thorne sat in the sterile, fluorescent visitation room of the federal holding facility, the hard plastic of the orange jumpsuit chafing her skin. She stared across the table at her father, Elias Thorne, separated by thick, soundproof glass. He was dressed in standard-issue gray, but his demeanor was as immaculate as ever. "You let him do this, Father," Audrey accused through the shielded phone, her voice shaking with controlled fury. "You set the stage. You let me fight Caleb on the legal front, thinking I was invincible, and all along, you knew Jasper confessed, and Riley had the evidence. You knew this was coming. Why?" Elias, calm and unervingly composed, smiled faintly, a chilling, almost paternal gesture. "Because my brilliant daughter, the syndicate, is too big, too entrenched in the legitimate world. If I stayed out, Riley would have spent a year cutting us piece by piece, filing warrant after warrant, slowly freezing the blood flow until we were weak and fractured. We would have died a slow, agonizing death of 1,000 paper cuts." He leaned forward, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper into the phone. "By stepping in, by giving him the narrative Elias and Audrey Thorne arrested. The long reign of corruption is over. I let him cut the head off. Me and then you, which is all he needs for his headline and his promotion. But we have lost everything," Audrey countered, slamming her hand on the table. "No," Elias countered sharply. "We have created a vacuum. A beautiful, dangerous vacuum. Riley doesn't care about the syndicate's future. He cares about his career. His mission is complete. But my real plan starts now. By removing ourselves, by making us untouchable federal assets, we forced Victor Shaw into the open. He is running on pure, unhinged vengeance, and he will not stop until he is permanently secured." He paused, letting the cold reality settle on his daughter. "The one man who hates Victor more than us, and the one man who is currently fighting for his life, is Caleb Shaw. He needs to move his sister. He needs stability. He needs protection from his own father. When he comes to you, and he will, you must give him what he needs. Caleb is our insurance policy, and Lila is his only weakness. He is the only one who can stop Victor's final, devastating mistake, a mistake that would bring the full force of the military down on the territory and destroy what is left of the syndicate. Victor Shaw, now consumed entirely by the desire to destroy the Thornes and undermine the federal authority that sheltered them, decided on a move that would demonstrate his power while remaining true to his new, self-imposed rule. No more innocent bloodshed. The goal was spectacle, not slaughter. His target, the Ironwood Town Hall, the ancient, historic symbol of the legal authority he felt had betrayed him. He used the tools acquired from Serafina, a high-end, military-grade drone, typically used for seismic surveys, equipped with a specialized low-frequency sonic device. The logistics were complex, requiring a timed launch from a high-altitude canyon overlook and precise navigation through the Central Valley. At 3 a.m., the drone hovered silently, almost invisibly, over the historic town hall. Instead of explosive, Victor, watching through a thermal scope, triggered the sonic device. The device emitted a tightly focused, extremely low-frequency wave, targeting the resonant frequency of the building's aging limestone and iron support structure. The resulting controlled shockwave didn't blow the building up in a flash of smoke. It caused a deep, subterranean rumble that fractured the aging foundation, causing structural failure in the main load-bearing walls. Then the focused vibration shattered every single pane of glass in the structure, hundreds of windows, in a sudden, horrific cascade that sounded like 1,000 bombs going off simultaneously. The next morning, the Ironwood Town Hall was a dangerous, unusable ruin, cordoned off with police tape, a physical manifestation of chaos and the collapse of local governance. The message Victor sent to the press was simple, carved into the remaining stone entrance with a laser-etching device. Justice for Lila. The display was terrifying. Riley knew Victor was no longer interested in property disputes. He was interested in anarchy. The marshal immediately called his superior. Victor Shaw is operating as a domestic terrorist. He is a direct threat to public safety and infrastructure. We have Elias and Audrey, but we need to secure Victor before he unleashes absolute hell on Ironwood. Caleb Shaw, watching the news footage of the shattered town hall, the image of broken glass and fractured stone mirroring his own internal state, knew Victor was on a collision course with certain death, and that Lila's window for transport was closing fast. He realized Elias was right, chillingly so. The only way to stop Victor was to create a counterforce so disruptive and final that his father couldn't ignore it. Caleb requested a supervised federal visitation with Audrey Thorne. The meeting was tense, conducted under the watchful eyes of Marshal Riley, who sat just outside the glass partition, ready to intervene at the slightest sign of deviation. Caleb placed a single document on the table, a temporary, notarized medical guardianship transfer, giving a third-party, court-appointed doctor full legal authority over Lila's care and movement. "Lila is dying, Audrey," Caleb stated, his eyes locked on hers through the glass, his voice devoid of emotion, operating on pure survival instinct. "The next 48 hours are critical, and my father is going to burn this entire territory to the ground trying to get to you. You needed me to stop the financial war. Now I need you to stop the blood war." Audrey remained stone-faced, the political animal in her taking over, calculating the immense leverage she held. "I am in custody. I can't do anything but instruct my legal team to destroy you through litigation." "Yes, you can," Caleb countered, leaning closer to the phone receiver. "You are the only person who knows every secret, every debt, and every untraceable contact Elias ever made. I need two things from you. First, you provide the evidence, the digital keys, the names and the offshore accounts that definitively prove Victor Shaw is financially bankrupt, and that the syndicate now legally owns every last thing he possesses, including the very name of the Shaw family. He has to know his vengeance is meaningless and that his legacy is forfeit." "And the second?" Audrey asked, her voice a low, calculated challenge. "Second," Caleb swallowed, the weight of the sacrifice hitting him like a physical blow. "You give Marshal Riley information, real, actionable intelligence that leads him directly to Victor's location. You trade your immediate freedom for my father's capture. You get him off the board permanently, and you get yourself out of jail, positioning yourself as a cooperating federal witness." Audrey laughed, a short, sharp, humorless sound. "I betray my own father for freedom? You betray yours to save your sister? We will both be pariahs, Caleb. This is the end of both our houses, not the beginning of a new order. No, Caleb insisted, his gaze piercing. This is the only way Lila gets to the city and survives. If Victor is free, she is bait. If he is captured, she is a civilian casualty who deserves to live. The time for empire is over. I will move her immediately after Victor is secured. You get your freedom and the chance to rebuild. I get my sister's life. Audrey looked at the legal guardianship document, then at the desperate, exhausted man across from her. She saw not the Shaw rival, but a potential partner in survival, a co-conspirator in ending the past. She pushed the tablet, the one her operative stole from Red Fork, containing Lila's critical data, back toward Caleb. You have your sister's records. Now, here is the price of the deal. I will give Riley the location of Victor's hideout, the old ***, Black Mesa bunker, ***. But I need a guarantee. The Thorne Syndicate gets full legal, undisputed ownership of the Ironwood territory and all assets associated with the feud, including the West Ridge claims. The Shaws walk away with nothing but the clothes on your back and Lila's life. Everything goes to the Thornes. Caleb met her gaze, the weight of his family's entire legacy, decades of fighting, smuggling, and power pressing down on him. He knew he was trading an empire for a single fragile life. He looked at the medical transfer document again. Done, Caleb said, his voice barely a whisper, finalizing the pact of betrayal and survival. We will be the ones who end this feud. We will burn the past to save the future. The action immediately began. Marshal Riley watched the exchange, his face impassive, and immediately ushered Audrey into a private debriefing room. Simultaneously, Caleb raced back to Red Fork Canyon. He secured the remaining patient files, transferred the legal guardianship to the city doctor, and initiated the emergency transport. Lila was placed in a nondescript medical van, marked with a generic pharmaceutical logo and given a false identity. Eliza Gray. We drive straight through the night, Doc, Caleb instructed, taking the wheel. No stops, no communications. We disappear into the city before Riley can change his mind or Audrey's deal falls apart. Within the hour, Riley was mobilizing a specialized federal tactical unit, FTU, and state police. He didn't trust Audrey, but the details she provided about Victor's arsenal and the bunker's defenses were too accurate to ignore. The raid on the Black Mesa bunker was set for the following morning. Caleb, driving the quiet ambulance toward the city, looked at the Black Canyon walls speeding past. He was leaving Ironwood forever, a broken man who had sacrificed everything to save one person. Victor Shaw, oblivious, sat in his bunker, cleaning the weapon he intended to use for his final, devastating act of terror, awaiting Seraphine's confirmation for the next target. He had no idea that the call he had been waiting for, the one that sealed his fate, had already been placed by the only people left who cared about him. The old empire was dead. A new, fragile future was about to be forged in the fire of their mutual betrayal